Greetings, fellow freethinkers. The event you're about to watch was hosted by the Center for Inquiry, an educational and outreach organization dedicated to defending and promoting science, reason, secularism, and free inquiry in every area of human endeavor. My name is Justin Trottier, and as Executive Director of CFI Canada, I would like to take a moment to tell you a bit about us. CFI Canada currently incorporates CFI Communities for Inquiry in Calgary, Montreal, and Vancouver. Over 30 affiliated student organizations from coast to coast, and of course our headquarters here at the Centre for Inquiry, Ontario. CFI Ontario, located in the heart of downtown Toronto, is the first Canadian branch of CFI and is the first dedicated event and meeting space for all humanists, skeptics, and freethinkers in the nation. Our mandate encompasses a robust public education series, campus outreach to a growing network of student freethought groups, community outreach and social services, to provide secular and humanist alternatives to religiously monopolized services and activities, and a lending library and media center that, among other things, broadcasts videos like this across the planet. To learn more, please visit us at www.cfiontario.org, to get on our email list, or to learn how you can support our movement, such as by becoming a friend of the Center, a CFI donor, a volunteer, or to launch or affiliate a new campus or local group. Contact us today at ontario@centerforinquiry.net. That's CENTER. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the video. So, I'm going to just say a couple words for introduction, but before I do, I just wanted to alert you to the fact that there's a couple of developments that I wanted to remind people of. So firstly, over the course of the summer, John and myself have been putting all of the digital media for the last year or two's worth of events on our website. So if you want to check that out, I think it's all up now. So if you go to cfiontario.org, under local resources, there's a link for our video archives. You'll find links for dozens of events, all the video, all the footage, all the pictures, some audio MP3s as well for the newer video, the newer events. So that MP3 stuff will be ready in a couple weeks, but the rest of it's up now. So check that out. In other news, we had an interesting media hit this week, actually yesterday. Our colleague Gary Reid, who works with the Canadian Secular Alliance, just sort of a political wing associated with the CFI, was on the I-channel, which is 147 for those of you who get that channel. He was on a panel on the topic of whether religion is becoming a bigger force in Western secular democracies. I believe that footage is still available if you Google I-channel online, so you can look for that. So now, today we're here to talk about the topic, should human space exploration be a national priority? And this is a particularly interesting topic for me because I am biased on this. I work with the Canadian Space Society, so I should state that at the outset. So the two speakers today are friends and colleagues of mine, and we have, for your pleasure, Eric Choi and Kevin Shortt. Who's presenting first? Kevin or Eric? Okay, so I'll read this in the order it appears in the newsletter. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me do the intro and then I'll get out of your way and you can handle all that stuff. Eric Choi. Eric has a background in aerospace engineering, having graduated from the University of Toronto Institute for Aerospace Studies and having worked on several missions at MD Robotics in Brampton, including the Phoenix Scout mission to Mars. And Eric is also an acclaimed science fiction writer. And secondly, we have Kevin Shortt. Kevin is president of the Canadian Space Society. He's worked in the space industry for years at the Canadian Space Agency and as technical specialist in the space division at Optech. He was involved in such Canadian projects as Earth observation satellites SCISAT-1 and RADARSAT-1. So, without further ado, please help me welcome Eric and then Kevin. Thank you.
Turn the front row lights off. Is that possible?
Can we do that? Can people hear me okay without the mic? It's,
Not really.
not really?
Not really.
All right. I'd encourage you to go to YouTube and look up Can We for some amusement at some point. Anyway, thank you, Justin. I'm Eric. And really, I'm here to set the stage for Kevin, because I'm actually not in the space field anymore. But this is a terrific and very fascinating topic for me. I did spend much of my professional life in this field. So what I'd like to do is really just to set the context of what we're talking about and then hand it off to Kevin. So the question, should human space exploration be a national priority? And we're talking about space exploration. Images, of course, come right to mind of very forward-thinking towards the future of humanity and so forth. But in order to set the context, what I'd like to do is go back, way back a little bit, and see where it is that we all came from. So, of course, for a lot of human history, it was believed that the Earth was at the center of the known universe, the so-called geocentric model that was probably most espoused by Ptolemy, the Greek astronomer and mathematician who actually resided in Egypt, of course. Obviously, there are a lot of philosophical and religious appeal to such a model, all of humanity being at the center of creation for it and itself. And this was a model that persisted for a great deal of time, almost 1400 years. So unfortunately, wrong ideas do tend to persist for a while. Although, to be fair, a lot of observation, naked eye observation, the errors were such that the geocentric model and the heliocentric model, in certain respects, there was no advantage from one to the other. The big breakthrough, of course, Copernicus, who was the chief advocate of the sun-centered model of the solar system. And the appeal of this model, and we're all, of course, familiar with things like Occam's razor and the simpler hypothesis being best in explaining observations, is there were certain things in the geocentric model that just weren't explained as well. One being the apparent retrograde motion through the sky of planets such as Mars. Basically, with the Earth orbiting inside of Mars, if one were to look outward, we would apparently sort of catch up with Mars, and then the planet seems to fall behind. And this was something that was very much better explained by the simpler the heliocentric model rather than the geocentric one. The trials of Galileo and the tortures that he faced under the church are well known. I don't need to repeat those here. What I will say, just sort of on a personal note, I remember a number of years ago when the David Dunlop Observatory was still in observation, and I was looking through the small finder scope there, and it was happening to be pointed at Jupiter, and you can see the 4 major moons of Jupiter beside the bright point of Jupiter itself. And it was really a fantastic feeling to think that this is the same site that Galileo saw in 1610 when he pointed his telescope at the same site. And for aficionados of reason and space exploration as myself, it's really gratifying that one of NASA's missions to the Jovian system was in fact named for this great man. Kepler, the German astronomer, a very interesting story if you ever want to Google his relationship with Tycho Brahe, how the data he got was obtained. He was the one who characterized planetary motion, his famous 3 laws. What's a little bit interesting here from the standpoint of rationalism and scientific method is he struggled with the notion, basically one of the chief tenets of his 3 laws was the planets orbit in ellipses with the sun at one foci and not perfect circles. And again, for philosophical and religious reasons, perfect circles are very appealing. And he literally struggled with this for years, trying to fit his data to a circle and not an ellipse. And finally, the truth, as they say, out. And he's got a mission named after him as well. There's a NASA mission upcoming for a planet finder. You may notice a pattern here, like all the cool people who turn out to be right get like space missions named after them, and the people who are not so cool, they just kind of like, no, there's no Ptolemy mission or something like that. Newton, was really the giant, of course, that formulated all of